Double or Nothing sit-and-goes were introduced on PokerStars in 2009. A Double or Nothing sit-and-go starts with 10 players and concludes when 5 players remain. The winners receive double their buy-in. Due to the number of winners in each Double or Nothing, collusion or team play can prove to be profitable. While pros were studying the ICM for this structure of the game and seeing how small differences to stack sizes near the bubble can hugely affect a player's equity in the game, somehow people just knew that these games would attract colluding scumbags like moths to a light bulb. And so it happened that months later, a high-profile Chinese collusion ring was discovered on PokerStars. The alleged ring based in China apparently targeted the higher-end Double or Nothing sit-and-goes, which ran in binds from $52 to $104. In a highly detailed thread on 2plus2 forums, the conspiracy involving Double or Nothing sit-and-goes was laid out, including insights into the reactions from the leading poker room in the industry. It all started on May 24th when a poster named Jane0123 joins the poker discussion forum at 2plus2 to post a thread complaining that he or she has been unfairly banned from PokerStars. Jane0123 claims to have been PokerStars' top-rated Double or Nothing player on the Sharkscope leaderboard as of January of 2010, at which time his or her account was frozen for 4 months, then finally closed with $10,000 in it. Jane0123 then posted an email exchange with PokerStars. In one email, PokerStars asked about the relationship with Jane0123 with 46 other players. 2plus2 posters found out that the players are all from China, many from the city of Hangzhou. The Stars email informing Jane0123 that his or her account has been closed includes the following. In reviewing hands, it is clear that you routinely made team plays to create situations where you were supposed to benefit. You and your friends routinely played 4 and 5 players deep and squeezed the blinds between 2 or more cooperating players. After reviewing several hands for several players, it became obvious that this was part of some kind of agreed upon strategy. The existence of a large-scale Chinese collusion ring at PokerStars does not come as a surprise to some regulars. Jane0123 tries a few more times to argue that no cheating was involved and then stops posting. Jane's Sharkscope sit-and-go stats show 11,766 games, a profit of $56,300, a 5% return on investment, and an average stake of $87. 2plus2 posters discover that players on the suspected colluder list dominated the Stars' DON leaderboards. A player named Woodwick, for example, was a top Stars DON player for 2009 with $96,000 in profit. On May 25, 2010, 2plus2 posters on the thread begin asking for PokerStars to provide some information about the collusion scandal. Double or Nothing regulars start to weigh in on the impact of the fraud. PokerStars responds to these requests with a form letter that states, "Due to complexity of the situation to which you refer and the number of accounts involved, we have not yet begun to pay out compensation for this case. We expect that we will begin to process compensation within the next week, and players who receive a payout will get an email in due course." On May 27, 2010, posters observed that a DON format is an easy target for colluders and that such collusion can be very difficult to detect. However, others note that the scale and duration of the scandal suggest a massive security failure on the part of PokerStars. A long and detailed discussion begins on possible methods of compensating the victims. Over the course of June, the saga takes several interesting twists. One of the players allegedly on the original Jane0123 list reappears in the DON games, and many other posters note an influx of apparently China-based players having greater than normal success in the arena. Posters note that there is no enforcement of the player-defined city name at Stars. Posters demand PokerStars that they require all players to display their correct location. The only exception is that for some privacy reason, if someone lives in a small town, they would allow them to display the nearest major metropolitan area instead. PokerStars attempts to head off any issue by having one of its employees post in the thread stating that the investigation is taking longer than normal due to the unusual nature of the case. The employee, who is listed in the thread as Michael J from the PokerStars game security team, also goes on to say that players will be fairly compensated for the actions of the collusion ring. The total compensation fund included number 1, the total rake paid by the colluders in the affected tournaments, plus number 2, the amount confiscated from the colluders, including FPPS, and 3, additional contributions by Pokerstars to bring the total amount to be distributed to a total of the colluders' net profit plus rake. Some players pointed out that virtually no news of the scandal had been published outside the 2+2 forum. Some posters suggest ways to publicize the information. Others urge caution since it isn't clear yet what Pokerstars is going to do. Still, others note that Pokerstars has known about the problem for several months and speculate that Pokerstars may not have refunded anyone if not for the post by Jane0123 exposing the issue. By the end of June, Pokerstars had set up a pool for compensating those players affected by the scandal. The amount of money in the pool is based on several factors involving the games and including a $250,000 bonus added by Pokerstars. The final amount of money handed out by Pokerstars eventually reaches $587,000, with roughly 4,000 players reportedly receiving funds ranging from $5 to $8,500. To divide up the compensation pool, Pokerstars removed the colluding players from each event where 2 or more took part. Of the remaining honest players, at least half of them will have either already cashed out or will now receive a credit. Most of the regular DON players posting on the thread expressed dissatisfaction with both the total compensation amount and the way it was divided. Several posters also noted that there is no evidence that Pokerstars had solved the collusion problem. On June 28, 2010, the promised payments began appearing. However, outraged regulars report credits of a couple of $100 after playing hundreds of thousands of $104 and $52 games against members of the fraud ring. Others receive nothing. A few extremely high-volume players reports amount that exceed $1,000. Posters also note that the email from Pokerstars announcing the credits falsely referred to 2 players who were working together, possibly to avoid making unsuspecting customer aware of the size of the scandal. Several supernova-level players announced their intention to quit Pokerstars. To combat this mass exodus, Pokerstars paid $1.53 million in compensation to players affected by the cheating ring from China. Overall, Pokerstars had shelled out $2.1 million in compensation to players, while the cheaters' net profit were $494,000. Pokerstars believed that this level of compensation was fair and generous. The $2.1 million consisted of rake paid by non-colluding players in games where collusion occurred, the colluders' profit, the colluders' rake, and an extra $500,000 thrown in by Pokerstars. When it came to the issue of number of players involved in the collusion ring, Pokerstars said, overall, they closed 38 accounts in this case. This is a lower number than the 2+2 thread states, which was 46. Additionally, Pokerstars did not provide any information as to the players' identities due to the Data Protection Act of the Isle of Man. To combat the possibilities of further problems within the games, Pokerstars had introduced a new security function to prevent players from certain countries from playing in the same Double or Nothing events together. Pokerstars said that this restriction will ensure that only one player from each of the several countries will be able to play in these events. The investigations of the accounts involved, as well as the compensation to players, have since been finalized. This video is powered by Bluff the Spot, the best place to learn how to win at poker from actual high-stake coaches like MMA Sherdog. Check the link in the description.